Greetings from San Francisco. Hi, I'm Smita Siddhanti. I'm a Thai TC ex-president as well as the Thai Global Board of Trustees. So welcome everyone for this very exciting forum. And I'm also leading this Thai special interest group of social entrepreneurship and impact investing. So welcome everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is a very, for us, it's a very exciting panel because we are showcasing a number of Thai chapters as well on what they're doing with us. So let me introduce you to what the SIG is, and of those of you who don't know Thai, obviously you probably do, but Thai is the Indus entrepreneurs with the largest network of entrepreneurs around the world, and we have 60 chapters around the world. So it's a great platform of technology-based companies and the charter members who are ready to give back. And ready to invest in different companies as well. And so this forum is a great place to leverage for the special interest group that we formed for social entrepreneurship and impact investing. The whole mission of this group, which was just formed last year, it's been a year, and we have about 115, 120 members and growing. The special interest group, just so that you know, is our global groups around in Thai global. They have a number of special interest groups, and this is one of us across all the chapters. So basically, our group, our social entrepreneurship group, is leading a mission to identify and connect impact investors and social entrepreneurs in all Thai chapters for nurturing, mentoring, partnering to drive investments towards higher success in social entrepreneurship. I'm delighted that I have two co-leaders with me on this group, an executive committee of very active members, five of us, actively raising awareness as well as bringing thought leaders and impact investors and creating this platform. So I do have Ganesh Natarajan, Dr. Natarajan, who's from Pune, Thai, and he will be the moderator. He's a co-lead with me, and along with Sanjay Kadaveru, who's from Thai Delhi, but he's speaking from Hyderabad. Sanjay leads Action for India as an organization, and Ganesh is many things to many. He's been a CEO of several tech companies. And he's also leading the Pune Connect, which is one of the big social enterprises. With us, we have two other members from our committee, Vivek Verma, who's joining us from Thai Hyderabad. Vivek is very established social entrepreneur and a guru. We call him the guru in the lead, but he's also advisor to Telangana, the state in Telangana entrepreneurship and education. And I have Jayesh Parekh, who's from Singapore, who's our another executive member, who's also moderating today. And Jayesh has been the founder of Sony Entertainment Television and a big investor in many companies, but an entrepreneur and an avid social entrepreneurship guru here. So five of us welcome you to the great program and hopefully great discussion with our Thai leaders from Thai Silicon Valley and Thai Hyderabad, one of the two most active chapters of Thai, and very eminent social entrepreneurs with us. So looking forward to a great discussion. Dr. Nataraj, Ganesh, take it from here.
Thank you very much, Smita. And let me add my welcome. I mean, it's a Friday night, Saturday morning for many of us. So it's good that you could join for this discussion. And the genesis of this discussion, of course, is exactly what Smita mentioned, that we have been brainstorming and said that, look, we have done a number of sessions over the last 6 to 7 months and showcased a number of very good social leaders. But we said, let's have an interaction, not only with senior leaders from the Thai chapters. And we chose 4 of you to actually talk today, and other participants. And also, of course, showcasing a few social entrepreneurs, more in terms of understanding what they do and what their needs are. And our own premise going into this discussion is that there is a huge opportunity for both mentoring, because there are many of us who've been entrepreneurs in the corporate world as well as in the social side. And I think we can add value to whether it's a not-for-profit or an impact investment opportunity, the social enterprise. So that's one thing. And the second, of course, is the common bugbear that all of us face, which is capital. And what stages do you raise capital? How do you wisely use capital? So I think those are the two broader themes for today. And one of our goals, obviously, is that over the next 6 to 8 months, we will identify these social entrepreneurs. We will identify more that you may like to suggest. We'll identify many charter members who would like to engage actively in this venture. And then we will really try and see how we can build a mentoring platform within Thai Global to make this happen on a worldwide basis. So I think this is broadly our agenda. And of course, one of the purposes of this 90-minute discussion is to get your thoughts on how we should go about it, what we should not be doing. So feel free to post on the chat line. I mean, as we pause, we will also, of course, have opportunities in case you would like to speak. We will get you to speak or chat, whichever way you would like to do. And let me just start by teeing this off by saying that today, of course, I think we're all still struggling in COVID times. We were just chatting before we started about the 2-week lockdown, the 2-week quarantine that Singapore imposes, or for that matter, India is perilously near another lockdown because cases are going everywhere. And in this context, I think we all know that only 3 things will sustain us in the future. One is, of course, entrepreneurship, which is really what Thai is all about. And in my own life, I do a lot of work in entrepreneurship. Then the second, of course, is education, which I think, thanks to the last 1 year of children struggling to study from schools, study from home, has not exactly been very gratifying. And that's something that we need to think about as we go forward. And the third, of course, is really creating jobs, whether it is through social entrepreneurship, whether it's through philanthropy, whether it is through actual job creation. I think these 3 are something that is, certainly engaging me, and I'm sure engaging many of you. I am fortunate in my social life to run a fairly large venture called the Lighthouse Communities, which has actually done a lot of work in Pune, and now we're expanding into other parts of the country and eventually Asia. I'm also privileged that Safina, who's on the panel here, invited me a year ago to join the board of the Foundation to Educate Girls globally. And she's doing some amazing work, and you'll hear from her. And I think the validity of technology, the validity of mentoring, everything comes together in Educate Girls. So that's why I requested Safina to share a bit of her story. And also, of course, the Asian Venture Philanthropy Network, which is doing great work out of Singapore, and Social Venture Partners International in Seattle, which again is an amazing thing. So I think this has kind of given me a very large window into what's happening in philanthropy. And I'm really glad that we could put this team together. Just to give you a quick window into what we're doing in the next 85 minutes, we will have Safina sharing for maybe 10 minutes her own journey, just to tell you how you can build large scalable social enterprises. We'll then have 4 of our leaders. We'll start with AGK from Silicon Valley, and then we'll move on to both the India chairs and co-chairs, which is Vineet from Pune, and Vivek, of course, who leads the social initiatives of Thai Hyderabad. And then move on to Amit, who will talk about the whole concept of building ecosystems, which he does in his real life, which I think we're thinking of doing in the social sector. Then I'm going to hand off to Jayesh from Singapore. And Jayesh will talk about social entrepreneurship and also showcase a few social entrepreneurs. And then I'm going to request our co-chair, Sanjay, to say a few words, and then we'll wind it up. And of course, we'll open it up for any questions that you may have. So let me start by asking Safina, who is really one of my favorite social entrepreneurs. Safina, tell us your journey. Tell us who you are, how Educate Girls has built so much significance, and what are the milestones that you'd like to talk about on your journey.
Thank you, Ganesh, and thank you for inviting me here. It's lovely to see Smita, Jayesh, a lot of people we've sort of met online before, and it's good to see you. So thank you for the invitation. I would like to take about 10 minutes just to walk you through my journey. I started Educate Girls about 13 years ago now. And, I started it because I was a school dropout myself, but my circumstances changed and I went to LSE and became the first person in my family to go overseas for an education. So the value of education, having grown up poor, having grown up abused and, in a violent circumstance, it was really an extension of where I was coming from. In the last 13 years, the organization has scaled. We've grown from just being, 8, 10 people working in 50 schools in Rajasthan to today where our footprint is across almost 20,000 villages. We have boots on the ground. We have a full-time team of over 2,000 employees, and we have over 14,000 community workers who we call Team Balika. So it's an organization, in just these 13 years, it's an organization that has doubled in size every 18 months. So it's been sort of an organization on steroids when it comes to scale. But before I get into that scale journey, I'll take a minute just to sort of take us back to why we do this and the reason for it. And why we do this is because it resonated with me personally, but because girls' education is one of the most transformative investment propositions. It impacts 9 of the 17 sustainable development goals. Anything you want to improve, from health, education, employability, tackle malnutrition or child marriage, or now climate scientists under Project Drawdown are rating 80 actions to tackle global warming. And at number 6 is education of girls. And at number 6, it's rated higher than electric cars and solar panels. So the reasons for actually investing in this particular cause and mission are absolutely exponential. The multiplier effects for educating a girl are, I think, it's about the individual, the family, the community, and then sort of nation building and saving the planet, if I had to put it simply. However, still, we have over 4 million girls out of school in India. We are number 3 in the world in terms of girls who are not going to school. And main reason is patriarchy and poverty. So where the 2 P's intersect, where you have very poor population and the most socially marginalized populations, that's where you see a high number of out of school girls. What we do is very simple. We go door to door, we knock on every single door and we find these girls. So we know exactly who they are. And then we work with parents, communities, villages, governments to bring them back into the school system, make sure that they're staying and learning. And we use our heavy boots on the ground presence to actually make that happen over a multi-year period. So we're not a single strategy model, so think of us as a combination therapy, and B, we don't parachute in, parachute out. It's not a 1-year, 2-year project. We stay in a district for 5 to 6 years. So it's fairly intense. And then it's been doubling in size and then the scale on top of it. And we went from like 50 schools to 500. And before I could blink, I felt like I was in like over 5,000 schools. And at that point, I was really worried. I was like, is this just scale? Is just replication? Or am I really scaling impact? And I think the question of this was really key for me, because obviously if I'm working with 1 million girls, I need to make sure that 1 millionth girl, there's still a value proposition for her and there's impact being created for her. And so that led us to actually pilot an innovative financing mechanism for the development sector that had never been done before in the developing world or in education. But essentially, we launched the world's first development impact bond. And it's not a bond in the financial sense, it's a payment by results contract. But by now, we were so sure of the importance of our work and the evidence that we already had on the ground that we said, let's do a payment by results and you pay us when the result is delivered. It was a 3-year transaction. I'll give you a quick highlight summary. At the end of 3 years, the external evaluator, it was a gold standard RCT, control, treatment, etc. Very, very solid evaluation. And they said that Educate Girls was able to bring back 92% of all out of school girls back into school in 3 years. And that in terms of learning, we had outperformed the targets they had set for us, and we had achieved 160% of our learning targets, which was like equal to more than like an average year of schooling for the average, sort of tribal child. So just phenomenal. And again, all delivered by grassroots. 99% of our team come from the same villages where we work. So it's homegrown talent. It is talent from those rural, remote, and tribal areas. So that and also the our investors got a 15% IRR. So we were like, wow, we generated financial returns and we generated some incredible social impact that was value add. But it also pushed us, the bond pushed us to use technology and data for decision making, and we came up with this big beautiful insight that even though we have the third largest number of out of school girls anywhere in the world, 40% of all out of school girls are actually in 5% of Indian villages, which meant that we built our next big plan and we said, let's try and solve for this 40% of the problem. Because one organization could bite a huge chunk of this problem by saturating these 5% of the villages, because we already have a model that's scalable, it's results driven, we know it has evidence, it's smart, it uses a lot of technology, it's all on smartphones, data is real time, clean, and it uses local talent and creates livelihood on the ground. So with that, we became Asia's first organization to become an audacious project. And our goal now is over 5 years, bringing back these 1.5 million out of school girls in these 5% of the critical villages. And I wanted to kind of end with two things. One, that this level of scale has two levers. One is capital and the nature of that capital. The capital was strategic that we got. Majority of our money is unrestricted. And we're funded by a small group of very, very, very strategic philanthropists, right? And impact investors. And essentially it's patient capital, it's long-term capital, it's flexible capital. And I think that's really the fuel for creating good scalable organizations. The second, I think, and Ganesh, you sort of highlighted, is about mentorship. And I think the biggest thing that I worried about a lot as you were scaling is the biggest risk to the organization. And I feel the biggest risk and bottleneck to organizational scaling is the founder. Because like for an organization that's doubling in size every 18 months, how does a leader maintain that headroom between them and the organization? Otherwise, you get into founderitis. And I think that's where I was very lucky that I had this small group of really smart people backing me that had coaches, mentors, advisors, supporters for me throughout this journey. And that's what really keeps you kind of ahead of the curve and helps you see things that, I've never even had a job before. Like I started this. So all of this, and a lot of social entrepreneurs, that's where we come from. So I think that's really what I wanted to end with, is saying, is that coaching, mentoring, that handholding, which is absolutely key for social organizations. And then sort of long-term, flexible, really smart strategic capital. So I'll end with that. I am Safina Hussain and I educate girls. Thank you.
Thank you, Safina. Always an amazing story. But I do have one pointed question for you. I mean, you talked about the need to raise significant capital, flexible capital, and we won't talk numbers here, but I know the volume and quantum of capital you have the ability to raise. And there are social entrepreneurs everywhere who are saying that, look, how do I ensure that I raise the kind of capital that doesn't sit on my back and say, okay, you promised this last week, it didn't happen. So how did you develop the ability, if I may call it that, to go out and raise large amounts of capital and very patient capital, to use your term?
Yeah, I think it requires two things, or maybe it requires a lot of things, I think. But I think definitely two things that work for me is the ability to say no. And it's very scary for social entrepreneurs to say no to money. But if it's money that will lead to mission drift or mission creep or take you off on a tangent, then you're better off saying no. And it's very hard because essentially at heart, NGO leaders are beggars, right? But for the beggar to turn around and say, no, I can't take this, it's really very hard. So one is that, but the second, I think really having a strategy, having a product, having evidence, so I think those things, and we make 5-year strategies, we make 5-year plans just so that, and then we take 2 years to raise money against that strategy. This whole plan for these 5% of the villages for 1.5 million girls, we build the strategy, Ganesh, with our board and our team and everybody. It took 6 months to build the strategy, and then we took 2 years to raise the right capital that matched this strategy and then launched it. So I think the whole process, I would say, is really helpful. I hope that answers.
Yeah, you did. You did as much as you wanted to, which is normal, Safina. That's okay. And the other question I had was, you mentioned mentors, etc., which is the very germane to this conversation we are having. I mean, I know how I got into, I mean, I heard Safina once in an AVPN session, and then 6 months later, I got a call from Safina saying, we now are embarking on this big digital strategy and you got to join my board. And I said, no, 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 I'm busy already, but she would not give up. So, I mean, how do you hunt down people? How do you get the right ecosystem of support? I mean, I know your board is, I mean, government, social sector, you name it, people who have worked in large corporates. How do you make this plan of these are the advisors or the board members?
I think a lot of it is that the strategy guides it in some ways, in your vision, mission, your vision of success guides it. And Ganesh, you're really right. I did stalk you after that whole session, like, and then invited you and then invited you. And I wasn't going to take no for an answer. And I think you have to be okay with a no. If you know Irina, who's on our board, I worked for 6 months to ask her. She came on board. She stepped off. I still hounded her for another year, and then she came back on the board. So I think you just have to be tenacious, and you have to, be able to say no and also be able to take a no. So, but I think you have to really see what is it. It's like, Ganesh, I put it very simply, when we're making senior level decisions or strategy or whatever, my entire team, we're trained to think that girl is sitting on the table with us. So in some ways, anybody that we're looking for, who should be on our board, who is best placed in the service of that girl. And I think I just use that as a really easy guiding principle for myself.
Thank you. That's such an amazing story. Thank you very much, Safina. Always a pleasure. So let's move on to our Thai leaders and get their views on both what Safina said and what their own journey in the social sector has been. I'm going to start with AGK because, I mean, I've met AGK a couple of times and I know he does some amazing thinking in the impact investment space. And we're both very familiar with one company that he has invested in. So AGK, your thoughts, I mean, your thoughts, your journey, what would you like to share with us?
And a quick question also, how much time? Is it 1 minute,
have exactly
5 minutes? I just want to be sure.
4 to 5 minutes, AGK.
I just want to be sure. Always get to know, begin with an end in mind. Anyway, thank you all. It's a pleasure to be part of this group. Social entrepreneurship is a special area for myself, right? I mean, I first got to be a chair at, I think it was 2006 TiCon, where the first time I think we had a social entrepreneurship track, and we had, we featured a bunch of social entrepreneurs there. And that's the first time I got an idea. I was struggling at that time myself. Hey, is this only, meaning nonprofit activity, or are there possibilities to create for-profit social enterprises, right? So that was a big question at that time, even though most of the companies we featured at that time, they were all, kind of a nonprofit entities, but doing greater good. So that's how I got started. I've been associated with TiE for a long time. Since mid-90s, basically TiE was instrumental in my entrepreneurial journey, and I became a charter member back in 2001, and I've done various things for TiE. So I've served on the board, and now I'm the president of TiE Silicon Valley. But the way when my kids grew up, I mean, when I say grew up, meaning that we don't need to drive them around anymore. At that point in time, I realized that, hey, we have a good chunk of time. So what do I do with that time? So I decided I will do a third and a third and a third. I'll do a third of my time with running my own company, which is Multicore, where we're a software company. And then there again, I'll talk a little bit about the social impact that we are making, and engage with not-for-profits, give my time to nonprofits. So I've been over the last 10 years or so, I've been on the board of India Community Center, and I was the co-president for a couple of years. I've been involved with Pratham USA, the Bay Area chapter, and I was the president of Pratham also for a couple of years. And then, of course, I've been served on the board of TiE and now the president of TiE. So I decided a chunk of my time I'll give to nonprofits. And then a third of my time, I was also making investments in, startup companies, right? And there again, we decided, portion of our capital should go towards, for-profit social enterprises, right? Apply the, the typical business principles that all of us follow as entrepreneurs not necessarily chasing a social impact dream, but apply that wisdom, knowledge, money towards this kind of thing. So we invested in a company called Himex Health. Many of the people in the Thai circuit would know that. They made a point of care system for malaria and sickle cell diagnosis. It's been a great thing. Two entrepreneurs up in Portland, and they're, of course, their beneficiaries are going to be predominantly in India and also in Africa. So it's really the amount of time as well as the money somebody has to go get a malaria screening done is phenomenally high, and they solve that problem, and it's pretty good company. And then, of course, very recently, a bunch of us in the Valley together have gotten together and created a India Impact Investment Partnership. So we call it 3I Partners. The idea is it's not a fund, but it's also not an angel group. It's a partnership where our idea is that we come together and make investments in for-profit social enterprises. And we have invested in a company called centa, Center for Teacher Accreditation. So they're a company, I think Ganesh, you're also very closely involved with Ramya's company. And they provide a platform for evaluating teachers and giving them some kind of a score so that their livelihood, employability, everything increases. A very, very good purpose, because teaching itself is a noble profession, but improving their livelihood will make the entire community learn better. So that's sort of a quick background. But in Thai Silicon Valley, I've been a Thai Con convener before, also back in 2015. There we brought we had an entire track, and a half-day session for that. And we brought a lot of people together. And the idea is that the Skoll Foundation president at that time, she has written the book on social entrepreneurship. She was a keynote speaker. But the idea is that every entrepreneur, struggles, hey, if I'm in the social sector, when is the right time to raise money and all that stuff. So once I call it the initial highs and the lows of the entrepreneurs are, past, then that's a good time for somebody to raise money. And then, of course, do something good with that money so that they can further scale the entity. So I'm for that, and I'm open to answer any questions. So I think it's great that Thai Global is doing that, and all chapters have to come together, and certainly we'll have the support from the Silicon Valley. Yeah.
Thank you very much, AGK. I think that's very encouraging, and I think it's always going to be good to get Thai Silicon Valley to participate in some of these things. So thank you for being here as well. So let me quickly move on to Vineet Patni. And Vineet, just as a quick background, I think both of us know each other well, because when I was digital advisor to the Bajaj Finserv group, I think Vineet was part of the insurance group there. And after that, he's been an entrepreneur, done a bunch of work in entrepreneurship. He's currently the co-chair of TAI in Pune, and has been really growing the charter membership extremely well, and including a very successful nurture program that has been done by TAI Pune for entrepreneurs. And we're hoping to extend that into the social entrepreneurship group. And in fact, both the nurture leaders, Jitendra and Devendra, are both here. So thank you all for being here. So Vineet, over to you. What are your thoughts on what we can do as TAI? What can chapters do? And what is your view on social entrepreneurship?
Absolutely. Thanks, Ganesh. I think it's a great forum, great initiative, and will really bring in a huge impact and value to what we do. I think this was one thing that has been missing in TAI, and it's important that we build it up. So I'll just maybe to start off with, tell everyone about what Nurture is and the benefit of the group here. One, we've been running Nurture now for 9 years. So this is a 9-year, this batch would be the 9th batch that would graduate. So we've been running 9, Nurture in Pune now, and this is the 9th year, as I said. It has actually become the largest virtual accelerator where charter members come in India, and they give their time. There's no fees that is charged to any of the companies or any of the entrepreneurs that come in, and they graduate after 9 months of the program. A little bit about Nurture, what happened last year. We had, I think, 150 plus startups that got first shortlisted, close to 300 applied. 60 have been shortlisted. They're part of the program. I would say 40 underwent a boot camp, which just happened a couple of weeks back. And then, we're not sure how many would graduate, but our typical graduation would be anywhere between 15 to 20 entrepreneurs which would graduate. So that's the quick sort of numbers. 100 entrepreneurs or 100 companies have graduated over the last 9 years. That's the size scale of the program that we run. But very important in three parts, I think relates to what we are doing. First is the first step, what we do in Nurture is identifying or selecting the right company. I think that's very important. So it's not about whether the organization that we are trying to mentor, help, coach is the right organization, but it's more important that can we add value to that entrepreneur? Can we help the entrepreneur? So the first step is when setups apply or when entrepreneurs apply, they go through a screening process. We've got close to 8 to 10 charter members who give in a fair bit of time. They go through every application, they review the application, and based on that, the first shortlist happens. After that, they all go through an interview process. So there is a group of 2 CMs who would speak to each entrepreneur. It's around a 30-minute process. They are selected. Post that, there is marking. There could be clear cases whom we want them to be part of Nurture program, but there could be cases where we want to discuss and a larger, wider group discusses, and at the end of it, we bring we select the company. And as I said, can that company or can that entrepreneur be mentored? What is it that we are looking for? I think our criteria is well defined. What's happened over last I would say couple of years is from a scaling up perspective, we've already scaled up to Nagpur, we've scaled up to Surat, Hubli. These are 3 key chapters in addition to Thai Indore. But being a virtual program this year, we've got quite a few entrepreneurs from the US who are part of the Nurture program. We've got them from all over the world. But in the past also, we've had such requests. We do mentor them who are outside Pune. But as I said, our focus is that can we really add value? Can we really give them enough time? Parallelly, can they also spend enough time? Because at the end of the day, the program is successful only if both sides really focus on, seeing through what they want to achieve, or what's the impact, or what's the value that they want to bring in. Now, what happens in this 9 months program is, they go through various guru sessions, which are various learning sessions. They go through boot camps, which is basically they're brought in, and there is a fair bit of work that happens. But I think the most important part is they assign 2 mentors, and the mentors and mentees speak on a regular basis. For example, I have 2 companies, and I have a weekly call that happens with both the entrepreneurs. And it's not about us trying to tell them what to do and what not to do, but actually using us as a great friend, as a guiding board, as a sounding board, as asking us questions, looking for challenges. And at times, the relationship evolves, develops, that we do end up connecting them or trying to help solve some of the bigger issues that may happen. I think the beauty of the program, again, is we've had, in fact, yesterday in our group, I saw that one of our charter members posted a picture of meeting a mentee whom he mentored, I think 4 years back, Nurture 6, we are in Nurture 9. So the relationship not only stops there, as Ganesh rightly pointed out, Safina said, it goes on for a much longer time. And, the role evolves, the relationship becomes much stronger. And also, the entrepreneur becomes a very crucial part of the Thai community. I think let's not forget, Thai Pune has quite a few charter members who actually graduated as a Nurture mentee. And some of these companies are well funded, they're extremely successful, and they've become very, very large. So I think that's the key part. And as far as what we are trying to do, I think the biggest challenge is, of course, bringing in impact, whether it is helping them raise capital or the the perfect use of capital. In addition, where is the impact? It could be in educating, as Ganesh talked about educating our livelihoods, very important, but we keep hearing about, infant mortality. We've heard about so many challenges in related to health. I think in the new normal, the role not only will become much larger and much more important, but I think even the smaller impacts that can happen in various parts of the world, as well as societies, could be huge. We've had, for example, if you look at India, right, Assam has a huge problem of cancer. We've had huge problems of multiple non-communicable diseases, right, and we also have a huge issue of COVID itself now, taking a new shape and form. How do you change behavior? How do you impact change? How do you drive people to do things differently? And I think, the role that a lot of the organizations are playing is phenomenal. And I think the group would do a great job. So I think I would just leave away with one thing, is, how the community can come together to help entrepreneurs who want to be in this space, give their time. I think even giving time back, getting Ganesh's couple of hours, or getting AGK's a few hours, or Smita's per week, actually can make a huge impact, and helping them out succeed could be one of the objectives which the group might want to achieve and nurture. Poona would be happy to help assist or provide the framework that we've done, and what are the learnings that we've had over these years in terms of trying to make them more and more successful. Thanks, Ganesh. I hope I could.
Thank you, Vineet. No, I think that's very useful. And not only what Nurture has been so successfully doing in Pune, but also what AGK and the group in Silicon Valley has done through their advisory program. I think there are a lot of learnings for us to build a whole social mentoring program. So thank you for that. I think that's absolutely wonderful. I'm going to now quickly segue into Singapore and request Amit to talk about, we've had a discussion before on this whole concept of building ecosystems. And Amit, of course, has done it extremely well in the for-profit sector. So Amit, can you share some thoughts? I mean, having heard us so far, and you know what you're out to do in Thai Singapore. So give us your ideas on what can work in the future.
Yeah, no, thank you, Ganesh. And wow, I mean, I'm so inspired by Safina's story and her journey of 13 years, as well as listening to some of my colleagues. I think very encouraged. I'm Amit Gupta, and I'm the founder and CEO of Ecosystem, and I'm also the vice president of Thai Singapore. Ecosystem itself is a digital platform that, as the name suggests, brings together the technology ecosystem of technology buyers, technology vendors, and technology analysts. The idea is to create an impact within the technology industry and make research much more accessible for decision making. Now, that is a pure for-profit business. We are actually in the midst of launching Ecosystem Labs this month, which is an impact platform. It's an observatory focused on the role of policy and technology with a goal to shape thinking that can help solve some of the most critical foundational shifts that are impacting our world today. But I think what I'd like to talk more about, Ganesh, is the various constituents of this ecosystem and what they can bring into this. And I think what I'm going to share is, nothing really new. I think everyone has touched on various facets of it. I'll try and bring all of that together. But I think the most encouraging part, I think, has been that over the past year, the world really has changed around us. I mean, we've all seen how vulnerable we are as human beings. I mean, I've not left Singapore in the last 13 months. This is month 13 that I'm stranded, and for a number of months sitting in this chair in this room. But the silver lining, I think, of the dark cloud is that it's shown us that when humanity is pushed to the limit, we have the ability to adapt and bring our resilient best. And it's the ability to get through comes through banding together as people, as communities, and as nations. And I think that's the key. It's the collective effort. I might just share quickly a little bit about what we're doing at Thai Singapore. The focus and interest in driving change. You've got people like Jayesh, obviously, very passionate about the subject, but he's got a number of colleagues and our peers in that group that are really interested in creating an impact. The social enterprise is becoming a core theme. We're seeing much more interest in supporting initiatives such as climate change, diversity, and inclusion, but also very significant interest in impact investment areas such as food tech, sustainable housing. And these are some of the areas that will actually help solve some of the biggest problems that we're facing today. We've got some really good examples of impact businesses that are that engage very closely with Thai Singapore. An exceptional example is a company called Billion Bricks, which is an innovative business that solves two problems at the same time: housing and climate change. We started to build the community in Singapore. We launched TEDx Thai SG, a series which is part of the global TEDx countdown in 2020, and we got an overwhelming response. I think we had something like 750 people that registered to attend that just from Singapore. And everyone that's been part of this journey, makes up one or the other constituent of a supportive ecosystem that we want to build. So, if we look at the purpose of building these supportive ecosystems in the social enterprise landscape is to create capacity building. How do we create impact at scale? So typically, social enterprises start by creating a positive impact on their local ecosystem. But how do you help them create that impact at scale, take it to other parts where they can replicate, and sometimes in communities that actually need more of that impact? And to create this impact, it involves engaging governments, policymakers, industry and corporates, the investor community, obviously, but academia, the entrepreneurs themselves. But most critical, I believe, is the role of the community that plays, and the role they play is amplifying the message, bringing it together and amplifying the awareness in the message. And I think if we look at what we can achieve together as an ecosystem, it's the ability to address a number of issues that are facing social enterprises today. Number one on the list, I mean, if I go back to what Safina was saying, as she was sharing her inspiring story, she hasn't worked before and she started this. This was her startup. But the ability to get that business mentoring and coaching, I think, is so critical. Because social enterprises are typically built by founders like Safina, who are passionate about solving a key issue. While they may know the social issue well, business strategy, operations, that's a completely different matter. And one way to lay a really strong foundation is either to create curated programs through education institutions, but otherwise, corporates and investors can play a very significant role as well through structured mentoring. And this can include exploring ideas, incubating them, helping them with business strategy and planning, walking them through the whole scale-up journey, and of course, bringing skills and know-how through the entire development and scaling up process for these organizations. We talked about access to capital and that is the most practical hurdle. That's the one that's very tangible and needs to be overcome. And I think the benefit in today's environment is more than ever, I think the empathy scales are peaking. I think there's much more interest in impact investments, as we've heard from some of the colleagues earlier as well. But I think the key to social enterprises is giving access to patient capital, because obviously the success metrics are quite different. And I think, Safina, again, coming back to what Safina was talking about, because it's pivoting around some part of her journey, I think referenced that term a couple of times as well. And so I think the capital pillar can be built together with the investor community, the corporate sector, and of course, the various foundations that are out there, NGOs, but some of the foundations like the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the Azimri, the Premji Foundation. So there's many that can be accessed. Of course, academia and industry can play a very crucial role in not just helping the social enterprises understand the market demand, but also play a critical role in their go-to-market efforts and driving greater awareness of the cause. So eventually the ecosystem has to be more than the individual parts, working in the individual areas. It's a living, engaged organism that has to continue growing. And to build this engaged ecosystem, I think it requires actively leading, facilitating, and participating in multi-sector activities in different markets, different segments. I think at Thai, I believe we have a very key role to play in driving this engaged community that can help build the relationships, the connections, but it needs to engage across policymakers, investors, corporates, academia, the frontline entrepreneurs. There's a need to drive, in my view, much more informal conversation, but also structured sessions, whether it's through meetings and sessions like these ones, that can then be amplified and bring and grow the community and bring more through digital engagement. We've got to drive more digital engagement. We've got to have more thought leadership and content that creates more awareness. And I think there's a role for the ecosystem to play in creating more localized incubation hubs, because the nature of the social entrepreneur is a little bit different from people like me, and I'm inspired by people like Safina every day. And I think that role, that local entrepreneur, needs to be replicated and brought to other parts of the world. But I think we can start with these local incubation hubs. I think that's the way to go, and then connect them and build that hub and spoke model. So that's Ganesh. I'm not sure I have much more to add to that. I think there are people who have actually got a lot more experience of achieving that impact than I do. And I'm looking forward to the rest of the session.
Well, thank you. Thank you, because you kind of laid it out well. And that's really what we're trying to do. It's almost like build a beehive of, it's almost like nano organisms that are working together in ecosystems, and then build a larger ecosystem. So thank you. So let's come to the last part of the session, which is to talk for Vivek, who's of course part of our SIG, and also doing some amazing work in Hyderabad and Telangana. So Vivek, would you like to kind of tell us a little bit about Hyderabad and also your own thoughts on mentoring, which kind of inspired this entire session? Vivek.
Thank you. Thank you, Ganesh, and good morning and good evening to all of you joining from various parts of the world. I think that's one of the things we have all got used to in what I call the COVID world. We are not, a lot of things that we are now used to are never going back to what it used to be prior to January 2020. One of which is all of these online sessions where geography is no boundary, time zones are no boundaries, and we are kind of talking to everyone. And I think that's by itself a fantastic thing for the concept of entrepreneurship, because the world has suddenly opened up and we can have conversations with people, without having to hassle about passports, visas, travel, airports, and all of those things. So thank you very much for the opportunity, Ganesh. I think, I find this very interesting because I am kind of personally at the intersection of a few things here. I'm on the board of TiE Hyderabad. I've been a member for the last 6-7 years, and I have been tasked this year to lead the social impact entire activities at TiE Hyderabad board. Having come from a 32 years of corporate background, pretty much similar to what Ganesh and maybe a few other people here on the call, I jumped out of the corporate world 5 years ago and decided to kind of focus my energy on entrepreneurship and social entrepreneurship to be more precise. And it's been a wonderful journey. I run my own consulting business, again, where I work with a lot of social entrepreneurs, one of whom we will speak with a little later in the day today from Center for Sustainable Agriculture. But essentially, the idea is to see how do we bring the lessons that we have in the corporate world or in the for-profit world to the not-for-profit world. And I think in my own view, that's one of the things I have been working very hard over the last few years, that quite often the world looks at these two as binary, and that there is the for-profit world and there is the not-for-profit world, and there's very little that the two can learn from each other. And I have seen in my experience that I think that's not true. A lot of things are very common to both the worlds. And my endeavor here is to see how do we bring all of those fantastic learnings to the development sector, or what I like to call the social innovation and social impact sector. Unit economics, the fact that we need to look at good organizations, performance matrix, importance of people and performance. I think all of these are common. So that's some of the things that we are going to kind of focus on going forward. Now, coming to specifically to TiE Hyderabad, we have this year specifically created a kind of subsection which will focus on social impact. And we started doing some work in the COVID lockdown era last year. We launched a program we called the REJIG program, where we kind of went out to enterprises, and this wasn't restricted to social, though there was about 25-30% social enterprises in that whole large fray. And we went to them and said, look, pandemic has affected everyone. Now let's come back and let's revisit our own business plans to see what do we need to change. And as the word suggests, what do we need to rejig in our plans to get used to the new world during the pandemic or post the pandemic, what I call the co-COVID world. We had 200 entries of social and non-social entrepreneurs who joined us in this program. Roughly 100 of them stayed on and did a 6-week program. And we just did the culmination of that event just a couple of weeks ago. And many of these enterprises benefited because they got the opportunity to get access to mentors. They got opportunity to talk to investors who could kind of help them tweak their thought process, given the fact that the world has changed. So we want to continue that and launch a specific social impact rejig program this year, which Tai will kind of lead from Hyderabad. The other intersection, like I said, I'm also a senior advisor to the government of Telangana. We run a very successful Telangana State Innovation Cell, and I'm tasked with focusing on social innovation and social impact. And I'm very happy to report that Telangana is the first state in the country to have a stated social innovation policy. If any of you want to look at the policy, you could visit teamtsic.org and you'll get a glimpse of the policy. So our idea here is to really create a very vibrant system in Telangana to say, how do we get 5,000, I know it's ambitious, but 5,000 social entrepreneurs to have their presence in Telangana in the next 5 years. We are calling it the 5K 5Y mission. So by 2025, how do we have 5,000 social entrepreneurs who are present in Telangana? And that Tai is going to be playing an active role, because we will work with these social entrepreneurs to make sure that they get the success factors, whether it's in terms of mentoring, whether it's in terms of investor connect, whether it's in terms of market access, or whether it is in terms of government connect. So that was the last piece that I wanted to talk a little about, which is the government connect. So we see that quite often social entrepreneurs have a very high passion. So they come in that saying, okay, a lot of them are people like us who have dropped out of the corporate world, or some of them are people who are straight away starting into the development sector, like we heard from Safina. But sometimes these entrepreneurs don't know what's the problem to solve. And their passion is there, but they're doing something because they heard about it. So one of the initiatives we are doing here jointly between the government and TAI is to say, how do we create a repository of problems? So let us go around to the government departments and say, where are they struggling? And similarly, go to corporates and see, where are they struggling? What solutions are they looking at? And then this repository is made available to the social entrepreneurs to say, look, these are real problems which people are struggling with. So if you can come forward and help solve this, then it will really make a massive difference. So instead of doing something which either you've looked at, or a me too, or you don't have enough knowledge about, look at these problems. So I think that may be a fantastic initiative going forward. And the last piece that I want to talk about, is that the government is also trying to focus here, and TAI is going to be playing a very active role in creating what we are trying to brand as the first event focusing on social innovation around the world. So something to the equivalent of World Economic Forum on the social impact side. This is something that we are going to be doing in July this year. It's a 2-day event focused on innovation, and one of the 2 days is focused on social innovation, where we are trying to kind of bring the best ideas and the best minds to see how do we kind of give more energy, not just to these enterprises, but also to the others who are listening in, to a lot of the government officials and all of that. So I think it's a combination of what we are looking at in Hyderabad, and fortunately we have a fantastic board and a team here who's also focused. A lot of our board members and charter members are people who are very actively engaged on the social impact side. So we are looking forward to a lot more engagement, not just locally in Hyderabad, but with the larger community around the world. So I'm super excited, and I think the mentoring piece that Safina talked about is an extremely important element, more so in the social entrepreneurship space. And I call, I'm a internationally certified coach, and I've been toying with this word for the last few years, that I think what young entrepreneurs or social entrepreneurs need is this approach called mentorage, which is a combination of mentoring and coaching. Because there is a certain amount of human element which a coach can kind of address, and then there is a certain element of knowledge that you have gained over years of experience, which is the mentoring. So how do we kind of bring that two together and mentorage social entrepreneurs going forward? And that's where I'm looking at spending a fair bit of my time. So looking forward to interacting with all of you from the social impact special interest group, and really taking your feedback to see how do we make this more sustainable and more meaningful. So thank you, Ganesh, and back to you.
Thank you very much, Vivek. I think we hope to see a lot more mentorages emerging as we go along. I think that would be amazing. And with that, I'm going to hand over to Jayesh, and Jayesh is going to also showcase 3 outstanding social entrepreneurs. So over to you, Jayesh.
Thank you so much. And first, I want to thank Smita, our chair, Ganesh, Sanjay, and Vivek, our Thai SIG committee. I also want to thank Mohini and Vijay at Thai Global, who's made this possible. So I think for the past nearly 1 hour, we've been hearing everything that you want to know about social entrepreneurship. So I had a little spiel that I was going to make on social entrepreneurship, so I'll save you from that. But basically, net is that social entrepreneurs are folks who are building companies or enterprises which is for profit. However, they are people with a purpose, with a mission, and they want to make some impact in everybody's life and the community. So today we will hear from 3 social entrepreneurs from 3 parts of the world. So from all the way out in Auckland, New Zealand, let's get started and hear it first from Senthil. So Senthil, he's a technology entrepreneur and founder of Youth Hub. And Youth Hub is an online software platform that empowers young people and connects stakeholders to bridge the gap between education and employment. So that's as much as I've understood, Senthil, but please unmute yourself, and may I request everybody else to mute themselves. And here we go. Senthil, we have totally 10 minutes, and that includes whatever you want to say. And then if there's time, we can have some questions for you. Go ahead.
Fantastic. Thank you, Jayesh, for the introduction. Hello, everyone. I'm just going to quickly start with a quick video introduction, and then we'll move on to the presentation. So I'm just going to quickly share my screen. Jayesh, if you could just let me know if you can see the screen by any chance.
Yes, it is. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Fantastic.
Every day, I'm doing new things.
Experiencing what's out there.
Doing it my way.
Living my journey. Learning.
Failing. Succeeding.
Trying.
It's these moments
that I'm capturing.
Showing me for who I am.
Because these moments, together,
open a door to my future.
Fantastic. I hope everyone could have heard that. Good morning, everyone. My name is Senthil Perumal, and I am the founder and managing director of Youth Hub. I just want to say a big thank you to all of you present here, and for Thai for giving me this opportunity to share my experiences with you. I was born and raised in Singapore, and at the age of 21, I moved to New Zealand to follow my passion and of being a pilot. And due to the global financial crisis, kind of had to postpone my flying career, and was searching for the meaning of life at that age, of why I was here and what that meant. And that's when I fell into technology. So at the age of 28, I found that calling and quit my day job, began my dream of helping to empower young people through an opportunity presented to me by Auckland Council. And I then spent the next few years researching, analyzing, and experiencing firsthand the problems that young people face and what the entire ecosystem of education to employment felt like. So essentially, what happened is this led me to develop Youth Hub, which is a professional network for young people to maximize, aimed at maximizing their potential. And our target audience are young people from the age of 16 to 24 years old. Our goal is to help level the playing field for all young people and to allow them to be the architects of their own destiny. We want them to be informed, inspire, and accelerate young people to maximize their potentials by providing them with opportunities, connections, and jobs curated for them. So what we found was the problem. There is a gap between education to employment, which obviously leads to a gap between employer and employee expectations. Our aim is to bridge that gap. So the solution is Youth Hub, an online New Zealand government-endorsed platform at this current stage that provides users with an integrated ecosystem of vested stakeholders to help facilitate lifelong journey learning and career development opportunities. So the various stakeholders using our platform, as you can see over here, are educators who reach out to potential students while showcasing their brand and keeping a track of their alumni, youth service organizations that provide mentoring support through our CRM system to help young people achieve their goals, employers who recruit holistically and are able to search for inspired and motivated talent while building a pipeline for future talent as well through our integrated recruitment management system. Governments are also able to utilize our accelerated platform to help young people who are on the welfare system find meaningful employment through a workplace integrated online function. And through collective impact, young people are placed in the center to receive the full benefits of the ecosystem while showcasing their journey visually and also receiving the support that they require to achieve their goals. So without further ado, I'll now play a quick video about Accelerator, a function within Youth Hub, which will also which also showcases the entire platform as well.
Senthil, are you sharing your screen? Because we can't see your screen, we can only see you.
Oh, sorry.
So I think you thought you were sharing the screen, but you weren't. So go ahead and share your screen.
Disconnected. Yeah. Yes, sorry about that. Thank you for that.
Yeah, that's all right. Yeah. Okay, now we can see it.
Beautiful. So do let me know if you can
we can see
the audio.
Yes.
Audio as well. Yep.
Yeah.
Introducing Accelerator, an innovative and immersive program that's designed to upskill and showcase the talents of young people in Aotearoa while they experience the world of work, gain NZQA credits and become future ready. To kickstart their journey, young people first create an online profile through Youth Hub. Once signed up, access to Accelerator is granted via a unique code. To ensure young people meet eligibility for the program, an interactive pre-screening check is conducted. Once in, young people can select from a range of employer-led programs that spark their interest. To help them prepare for their interview, they will be able to connect with mentors and have access to interview resources and checklists. Once successful, young people will have their own on-the-job training dashboard to manage progress, achieve NZQA credits by completing assessments, and keep track of their learning modules. Furthermore, they'll be able to record their employment experience by showcasing their journey via postings, establishing networks, building an online profile, and visually recording key milestones and achievements. Gamification is also used to increase engagement and enhance the learning experience. Points and accelerator badges are issued as each task is completed and young people proceed to the next level. Upon graduation, young people can venture into the ecosystem of Youth Hub to continue building upon their synced profiles. They then can access further opportunities by joining the Accelerator Alumni Network, keep earning life skill badges, finding connections, attending events, and exploring content. When young people are ready to apply for a job, they simply use their profile to apply for available positions and track their outcomes. As well as young people, Accelerator employers too are supported via the Youth Hub client management system. program management, youth profile management, and real-time reporting are all provided in one easy-to-use platform. Employers can also post jobs for free, filter and search for suitable work-ready candidates to hire, while showcasing their brand to help create an informed and inspired future-ready workforce. Accelerator, empowering the future generation of our workforce.
Fantastic. So I'm still screen sharing. Beautiful. So we've also recently launched our 10th version of our platform. And our main focus, as you can see, is to capture a young person's journey holistically, such as what's been shown over here, and through our visual journey function as well. Employers, as mentioned, have access to an integrated system that they can search for inspired and motivated young people. And we really want to showcase a very a holistic side of them and what they can not normally look for and connect them. Some of the additional features that we're also working on is this function called the Integrated Sustainable Development Goal Measurement Tracker for some of the governments over here, and to track how their progress is working on, as well as our cost and pathway predictor artificial intelligence to let young people kind of forge and look what their path is ahead and what that looks like as well. Our current business model that we have is is based on customizing functions for our clients, such as the New Zealand government at this stage, and other youth organizations, in which the New Zealand government is our kind of biggest source of revenue. Our two main product offerings are the CRM system for mentoring, as well as the accelerator for upskilling. And we are a profitable business with our current projected revenue at 2021 at 1.4 million. And we've been bootstrapped this business to date. Our next goal in the future is to increase our user numbers and use recruitment and advertisements, meaningful advertisements, to generate additional revenue. Our next step is also to enter the Indian market, coincidentally, as it has the largest youth population in Asia, such a significant youth population, feel that needs the nurturing for future workforce planning. And we feel that Youth Hub would aid and help disrupt some of the current approaches to recruitment, whereby you're not only just focusing on a paper qualification side, but more of the holistic side of recruitment of a young person. We are also currently in the final stages of the procurement process to enter the Indian market in partnership with this organization called Leonard Cheshire, a UK-based disability organization. Our aim is to launch Youth Hub by May 2021 and Accelerator by September 2021 in India, with the potential to launch in 8 other South Asian countries in partnership with Leonard Cheshire. And we're also exploring Singapore as a hub to manage our Asian expansion operations, and currently in talks with the Singapore government as well. We're a diverse organization that's based in New Zealand.
Senthil, you have 1 minute.
India, and now expanding in Singapore. And all our technology is custom built by our team over here. And essentially, we would love to work with the onset of COVID, right? Has obviously changed the world environment and has allowed us to expedite our offerings, and strong demand is paving our path for expansion. As such, we would like to work with partners and investors to expand our offering internationally through network connections, strategic partnerships, and in the future, raising investment to expand in Asia as well. So thank you so much, Jayesh, for your time today, and thank you, everyone. Open to questions if there's any.
Senthil, unfortunately, we don't have time. We mentioned that we have 10 minutes if you wanted to keep some time for questions. So unfortunately, you don't have time for it.
No
maybe
problem.
at the back end of it, if we will hang around, then maybe you get some time for Q&A. So moving on, the second social entrepreneur is Madhvi Jadhav. She is in Satara today, and she's the founder of That Mate, a sexual and mental wellness app for teens. She happens to be a petroleum engineer by qualification and has worked with multinationals like Schlumberger and Royal Dutch Shell. And she likes to travel and is a state level boxer. So please welcome Madhvi. Madhvi, you have 10 minutes, including Q&A.
Thank you, Jayesh. Thank you very much. So I'll start with my presentation here. Can I see the presentation?
Yeah. We can see your screen. Go ahead, Madhvi.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Madhvi. 1998, I got my first periods. I had no idea what was happening to my body. I thought, should I ask my mom or maybe, my teacher and or maybe that knowledgeable friend who has answers to all the questions. But unfortunately, he was also confused. I grew up very confused as a confused teenager and with a lot of body image issues. Cut to 2017, I visited my niece and she was going through the same trauma. This made me realize me and my niece are not alone. There are many Madhvis and my nieces like Tia and Nick who are 14 and probably have a lot of challenges while growing up. Maybe peer pressure, bullying, self-esteem issues, safe unsafe touch and period problems. There are 1.3 billion teenagers in the world, who have no idea what is going on in their body as soon as they hit puberty. 25% of it is only in India. Adolescence is a very unique and formative age. There are so many changes happening in the body. Teenagers don't know what is going on. They are at a juncture where they are deciding their careers and there are so many hormonal changes taking place. WHO says 50% of sexual and mental health problems have their occurrence during teenage. I'm sure you must be having a teenager in your house who must be having these issues. So where do they go to? Schools are not equipped to handle their questions, neither are parents. They find it more uncomfortable. So the teens are actually confused and they don't know where to go. Imagine a 13-year-old kid and he wants to know things about sexuality. He would prefer a safe space to understand these topics. And here we are solving this problem with ThatMate. ThatMate is not just an app where they can go and know about these things, have online sessions or maybe psychological support. But here we are trying to help these teenagers. We have worked with 8,000 teens offline and understood what is the kind of content they need, which is being co-developed by our experts. Personalization of the content based on the age and location is what our app does. We provide content that is very relevant and age appropriate to these. We are just like the calm of sexual and mental wellness for teenagers. Storytelling is something that really works with teenagers, and this is where we deliver the content in a very relatable and engaging format in the form of comic books and interactive stories. While playing these stories, we build their profile, and at the end, we draw a conclusion on what are the areas that need to be worked on and what are their strengths. There is a safe space called as Bolo, which is an AI chatbot platform which helps them understand or know about their frequently asked questions. Till now, we have 10,000 users on our app, and 90% of those who have logged in have utilized the content in the form of comic books and quizzes. We have competitors like Everfine, Panorama Education, which are US-based organization. There is Indian competitor, which is YourDost. However, YourDost is addressing different kind of value chain. They are more into remedy, while we are into prevention. We think by education and awareness, we can help teens understand and empower what their issues are. And this will make them more a responsible citizen. We charge $10 fees per student per year, which is paid by parents or CSR or foundations. And we acquire these teens through the network of schools. Till now, as we said, we have 10,000 users. We have got a letter of intent from a state government of Jharkhand, and the pilot is paid by UNICEF. In the next 1 year, we want to reach to 1 million teenagers. And we will need support from Michael and Susan Dell Foundations, Gates Foundation. And we are working on our product and bringing more and more content and making our product more and more engaging for these teens. In the next 5 years, we want to reach to 30 million subscribers and work in 10 states. We think we are not going to stop till we have made scalable solution throughout countries like Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Nepal, which have similar culture like India. This is the team, and I come from technical sales background, and I look after business development and content, somewhat content. Nishant looks after product because he has scaled a lot of products in his past experience. Shruti from her Facebook and Lyft experience brings a lot of insights on how the content should be. And Asmita, who is a psychologist, has worked with a lot of teenagers, which helps us understand key insights on how the content should be delivered. Here I am to ask, and because we are into mental and sexual health space, we want to work with mental health experts. As Safina had said, mentoring is something that will help us, scale and work in a better fashion. I guess here is what mental health experts, then product experts and growth hackers, because this is a product that is will be in the hands of teens, and we want to have a multiplier effect to reach out to more and more teens. We work with schools, so of course, if someone can help us connect with a lot of school groups, government partnerships, like Vivek said, we are already talking to state government of Telangana as well. VHub was our first point of contact. CSR and foundations to help reach out to those people who have internet access and need it the most. And of course, some accreditations if we can get some support with that. We are trying to break the stigma on sexual and mental health, especially in the country like India, so that the kids or the teens are become more responsible adults, because they create a more responsible country. Why don't you help us? Thank you.
Wow, excellent, Madhvi, well done. And I guess the question that I have for you is that your ask is quite specific on those three areas. And I was just wondering about your fundraising plan, if at all. I'm assuming that you are a for-profit social entrepreneur. And if so, you're taking grants, of course, from these two organizations. You mentioned the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and you mentioned MSDF. But are you also raising any equity money, Madhvi?
Yeah, so just now we closed our angel round, and we were like lucky enough to got some good partners at Avishkar, as well as some entrepreneurs like CEO and CTO of CoverFox. We have just closed the round, and of course, so investment, of course, but for the next bit where we want to reach to 1 million users, we will definitely raise funding. However, this money will help us work on the product and content, and fine tune it better. So that is where on the funding front we are.
Sure. So what is your incremental milestone then before you hit that 1 million? With this amount of money, how far will you reach, Madhvi?
So yeah, this money will reach up to around 1.5 years, where so this will help us reach to around around 500,000 teenagers. Yes.
Excellent.
And
very well done.
Also
yeah.
Funded by Also, we were funded by Ministry of Electronics and Telecommunication in terms of seed funding, and like they came in as a very early investor in that meet.
Extremely well done. Very encouraging, and best wishes to you. And I guess now I will introduce the third and the last speaker for the day. Is I'm going to try my best to pronounce this correctly. Is in Hyderabad, Dr. G.V. Raman Janayelu. And so हम प्यार से उसे Dr. Ramu कहते हैं. So we'll say Ramu. So Ramu is a PhD in agriculture from the Indian Agricultural Research Institute, and he's working with 100,000 small and marginal farmers in Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Maharashtra on improving livelihoods and sustainability. And he works with 200 farmers collectives. So Dr. Ramu, please take it away. You have 10 minutes, including Q&A. You can unmute yourself.
Thanks, Jayesh. Thanks for this opportunity. I'm an agriculture scientist currently with the Center for Sustainable Agriculture. We are trying to work on reviving the rural economy, particularly focusing on agriculture, because the farmers in India are in deep crisis. We hear daily many people leaving farming, and also large number of farmers committing suicide. So we started this organization in 2004 as a not-for-profit trust. We work directly with about 25,000 farmers, and we also support through services 75,000 farmers. And our work is spread in Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Maharashtra, and large part of our work is on organic farming and producer collectives. So training farmers on organic farming. We were one of the most successful organizations in the country in establishing organic farming models on a larger scale. And to just give you, in the last 15 years, we could establish pest management without using pesticides over nearly 35 lakh acres in Andhra Pradesh, which could reduce the pesticide use by over 50%. And through our intervention in terms of supporting production, we could reduce the cost of production, we could increase the productivity, and nearly about 30% income rise was possible over a period of 3 years. And we also support nearly 200 producer organizations, like I mentioned, and each has about 500 people as members. And what we are looking for is a mentorship in converting this farmer producer organizations into business enterprises, so that they can also link to the market, and for social impact funds. And the main problem we are trying to address is the Indian agriculture. It's a high cost of production, both economic and ecological cost is very high, and low returns. And all are smallholders, so without much assets. So mobilizing money is a serious problem. So the access to knowledge, finance, and markets is a serious problem. The last mile delivery of support services and first mile aggregation of the produce is a problem. So what we are trying to do is create alternative models of production and marketing by collectivization. And this has a greater potential. So the FPO hub, which we are trying to build, would be a collective platform to support these farmer producer organizations. Currently, we work with 200 farmer producer organizations. Nearly about 50 are promoted by CSA directly. And like I mentioned, 156 are supported by other organizations. So we have a tie-up with NABARD, NCDC, SFAC, Manage, Government of Andhra Pradesh, Azim Premji Foundation. So all these support the production side. So not much support comes on the marketing side. So we look at how that can be built. So in terms of potential, this is spread over 1,000 villages and nearly about 100,000 households, and which is about 250 acres kind of thing. This total business potential is about $350 million, the agriculture produce, and in that nearly 20-25% is organic, certified organic. And the more business potential increases, organic area under organic will certainly increase, because all are moving towards pesticide-free production, and from there moving to organic. So the incremental shift is quite possible. That's the core strength of the organization. And this transition can help to double the farmer's income, the household income in 3 years period. So we could do with 30% by working on production, but by adding on the market component, it will certainly increase. We can do it, we can double it in a span of years. And it also provides a lot of opportunity in terms of creating the rural employment opportunities, as well as entrepreneurial opportunities in the rural areas, in terms of input production, in terms of micro enterprises for value addition and food processing. It also has a lot of environmental benefits in terms of 30% water use reduction, 100% pesticide use reduction, 60% chemical fertilizer use reduction. There is also carbon sequestration which can happen kind of. And we expect about $4 million, this is $4 million for next 5 years. We wanted to raise for the Rural Incubation Center. We already have a promise of about 1.5. We already have a tie-up for $1.4 million. So rest we need to raise from other sources. So how do we go about? We provide basic support services for the farmer producer organizations in terms of technology, in terms of financial linkages, and in terms of market linkages. We promote entrepreneurship. We also provide organic certification, the basic certification, so that the quality of the products can be sold anywhere. We also have developed digital tools in terms of managing the production, managing the transactions, financial management, traceability. So all these we already have done, and we have a helpline which runs, and we have built a organic marketplace where farmers and farmer cooperatives can sell this produce directly to the buyers. And in this space, there is also scope for building the sustainable value chains. So there's the rice, cotton, fruits, vegetables, millets. So across there is a lot scope for building the value chains. So the basic design we are doing is the primary FPO, these 200 FPOs. They work on improving last mile delivery of services and first mile aggregation of produce. And we built federations of them at district level and a commodity based federations, which links them to which creates the forward linkages to the markets and create processing hubs and then focus on local markets kind of. Last 5 years, we already tried with the local markets. So we have a brand built for organic produce. It's called Sahajaharam. Today we are about $180,000 turnover per year. And we already established the food processing hubs. We have traceability system established. Now we also have a mentorship for this particular organic initiative. And we have partnered with US market. So we'll be exploring the export market as well. So from here, we want to expand to about reaching out to nearly $35 million market in the organic space over the next 5 years. So this is the 5 years plan in the retail space, which we have. Because in terms of production, we already have. We were lacking in terms of access to the credit and investment. So what we are now trying to do is, in addition to this, one of the federations which works on organic. Yeah, so I'm closing it here. This is the last one. So in addition to working with the farmer producer cooperatives, we are trying to create a social impact company which works with these farmer producer organizations in terms of creating markets. So it's about 30 million retail opportunity which exists. And from there also scalability is much higher, because I'm talking about only about 25% of the farmers whom we are working with. So there's a great scope to scale up to about $1,000 million in the next 3 years. So by 8 years, we can reach out to about $1,000 million. So that's an incubation center for farmer producer organizations is what we are talking about. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So Ramu, quickly, because we run out of time, I just want to make sure that is your ask mentorship at this point in time, right? And you're not
mentorship as well as investment into the other company which I'm talking about for the capital.
Okay, great. And I'd be remiss if I did ask you one question, which is that, in today, a lot of these ingredients are mung, soy, tempeh, peas. What about indigenous ingredients like millet and other things? Can you make some comments on that?
Yes. So we have India, we work on indigenous rices, we work on indigenous millets. So the whole range of, in all the commodities, we have the indigenous varieties conserved and then we bring into cultivation. And we have indigenous recipes which are already standardized to bring into the market, the food products as well.
Yes. Okay. Terrific. Thank you so much all. And I appreciate it. I think we have run out of time, but Ganesh, as promised, I pass you back in 30 minutes.
Thanks a lot, Jayesh. And I think it was really, really inspiring to hear all of you. And I'm sure there'll be more and more interest that we'll generate as we go along. So stay connected. Sanjay, can I request you to say a few minutes?
Sure.
What do you think about this whole initiative?
Thank you, Ganesh. And thank you, Jayesh, for the wonderful set of entrepreneurs who presented during the last half an hour or so. Again, when we talk about TIE and this particular SIG, TIE is this global network, a global platform for fostering entrepreneurship and mentoring entrepreneurs. One of the best things, most influential or important things that this particular SIG the special interest group can do. There have been such wonderful ideas that we saw just in the last 90 minutes. You heard about development impact bonds by Safina. You talked about the work being done in terms of the innovation promoted by the Telangana government, and Vivek spoke about the work there. And just one tidbit there, the state of Telangana, the number of agri-tech innovations that are happening in Telangana are more than all the other states put together. So when those kind of good things are happening, so there's a concept of development impact bonds, there are these agri-tech innovations happening in one part of the world. So TIE Global Network, the TIE SIG, one of the most important things that we can do is to serve as an agent for cross-pollination of ideas across all these chapters. We've had chapters from Singapore, chapters from Pune, talking about the good work being done there. So our SIG has been around for the last 6 months. And this session today was one of the most substantive sessions that we've had, just in terms of the density of ideas that we saw in the session across the speakers. Along with the other members of the SIG, just even as early as later this week, we were going to take a restock in terms of what have been our priorities for the last 6 months, but more importantly, for the next 9 months of the year, we're going to kind of draw a blueprint in terms of how we are going to kind of add value to the ecosystem. Again, our core customers will be these high impact, early stage, tech-enabled social entrepreneurs. And whether they are social entrepreneurs or general entrepreneurs, at the end of the day, their asks are similar. They want connects to source of funding. They want mentors. They want connects with technology partners or government decision makers. So how is it that we as the SIG members can enable them to kind of achieve that massive scale? And even on the most important dimension of scale is funding. There were several investors in this call. There was AGK Karunakaran with 3i Partners. There's Jayesh, who just started as Good Protein Fund. I have recently taken on a role at IB Cap Ventures. We are do a lot of SDG themed investments, and Ganesh has done investments with the Five World and so forth. So there are a lot of influential investors who can support the work, the wonderful impactful work that most of the social entrepreneurs are doing. So these are some elements that we will continue to focus on. And our focus will not waver from identifying these high potential social entrepreneurs and then enabling the scaling it. So with that, over to you. Back to you, Ganesh.
Thank you, Sanjay. And I cannot resist, since I see a super entrepreneur and a good friend on the screen. Can I request you, Puneet, just share any thoughts that come to your mind?
Thanks, Ganesh. No, you guys have done a fantastic job. I couldn't resist not being here when I saw this thing. And really, I think there's a lot of work that a lot of people do, and there's great intent, but you all have translated that intent into action. So, to be with friends here and to see how all of you have done such a huge impactful work and are giving not just your money, which I know you do liberally, but really your time and sharing and encouraging these young entrepreneurs. I went through the pitches of these young people. I have to say, pitch of Madhavi, pitch of Senthil, pitch. These guys are just incredible people, young, raw, but with full of passion. And I always think about that somebody gave me an opportunity. It'd be very selfish of me if I didn't really turn around and give back. So I really want to thank you guys. Very impactful. So grateful to all of you. Thank you, really.
Thanks, Puneet. Thanks,
everyone. Thank you, Puneet. Yeah, that was really nice. And I will not even try to summarize the richness of this session. And I totally agree with Sanjay. This was really great fun, really great intensity and density of ideas. So we will certainly come back to you and request all of you who are interested to join our SIG. I mean, it's a collaborative effort, and we really want to make some difference to the world, and only together we can do it. Thank you so much for being here on a Friday, Saturday.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Good night.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Have a great day ahead. Thank you. Thanks, Jayesh. Thanks.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.